Hey everyone, we are done sadly with the Vikings, but we are moving on now to the fully into the Middle Ages, and hopefully this can be a good swing for you. We're going to start off with the feudalism and what that's going to mean for Europe and what that's going to look like. As we step away from the Roman Empire, at least in the West, so we've seen now what things became in the East as we studied the Byzantines last unit. But now, as we think about the Western side of the Roman Empire, and as things began to fall apart, people are trying to figure out where they're going to get their help from. Prior to this, it had been the empire. The empire had been a source of strength, it had been a source of help and aid, but now it's up to the people to find where that's going to come from. And the people that they look to are going to be these individuals that have huge tracts of land, pieces of land that now are going to be a force within society. The other place they're going to look is to monasteries, where the church had established themselves that also could give out finance, they could give out food. These things would help people stay alive. This system that's going to develop is going to be called feudalism. I would guess that many of you guys, even in seventh grade or earlier, have studied feudalism. Hopefully, even as we go through this, will be clear and or clarifying for you. That's my goal. The main thing, though, that we're going to focus in on, at least when we're talking about feudalism, is the relationship that exists between different levels within society. I guess the closest comparison that I could make would be a little bit going back to almost in India when we talked about Hinduism and how there were different stratas or castes. This is going to be, I guess, in some way kind of connected there, where you're going to see different levels, different socioeconomic standings where people are going to fit. And within that, there's going to be ways that they relate to people at different levels, either above them or below them. And that's how these relationships are going to play out. At the top of the system, obviously, is going to be the king. The king is going to be the most powerful individual. He's going to have the most land. He is going to be the one with the most clout within society. Below him, though, are going to be the lords. These are guys that have land, that have power within the area. They're not as powerful, obviously, as the king, but they do have a lot of importance and say about how things are going to go. The main thing that they're looking for is respect. As you look at these things, there's going to be a desire on their part to continue to grow in importance. I think so many times people, and it's not, I want to make sure I say this correctly, it's not inherently a bad thing to have people look at you as important. I think there is something to be said for leadership. However, I think so often, myself included at times, we have pursued this where we want other people to see us as really important. There's a certain badge of courage about that where we step up and say, you know what, I'm a big deal. And I think we have to be careful about that. I think that's where pride comes creeping in. And I think as much as we can, we want to try to kill that in our own lives, saying it doesn't matter who gets the credit or how important I am. Again, it's about how the Lord sees us. But at least within this system, the Lord, lowercase l, is going to be somebody who is pursuing that desire for importance. To be able to gain protection, to be able to gain that significance within society, he is going to now offer up pieces of land. That's going to be called fiefs or fiefs. Pieces of land, tracts of land that are now going to go to individuals that would be able to now support him in his quest to be more important. They are able to rent the land and they can get income and the food from those that are going to farm it. So, again, from that rent, you're going to see money coming in as well as some food grown on the land that would then come back to them and keep the Lord and his family fed. Those that are coming after the Lord are going to be called vassals. Vassals. They're going to be important people within society as well, although not as important as the king, and certainly not as important as the step above them, which is going to be the Lord. So as you look at these individuals, they're going to swear an oath. As we talked about this connection, these relationships that are going to start forming, the lords are going to be looking at vassals to now swear an oath to them, basically saying, we are going to be bound to you for our whole lives. That's going to be called investiture. Within that, as a vassal, the individual now is going to be given complete control over the land they have received, that fief from the Lord. They have complete and utter autonomy within that piece of property. The people that live there are under him, and he is going to now derive his importance from that smaller piece of land. A couple things that they're able to do: they can coin money. I think that many of you guys know, we've talked about this a couple times. Typically, where that's going to happen is going to be a mint today, but at that time, they could create their own currency. They could fight if there was a dispute or there were things that were happening. They could wage war. They could make alliances. They could connect perhaps with other vassals to now have other people that would have their back. And finally, they can collect tolls. So if people are trying to cross their piece of property or a road that exists within that, they can collect tolls from people that are trying to make their way through that piece of dirt. All these things are options or powers that are given to the vassal by the Lord. The only thing that he is going to be expected to do, that vassal, is if the Lord says, hey, I need your help, I need your protection. This is something that the vassal didn't have an option or an opportunity to say no thanks. He was bound because of that commitment, that oath of investiture, to now go fight for the Lord and defend him if that was going to happen. The main thing, like we've talked about, is going to be these relationships and how you rank, how you compare to those below you, especially. You want to now continue to grow in prominence and power. And as much as they can, the vassals are going to keep shoving down those that are below them because they want to be more powerful, more important. If you're a vassal, there's going to be a couple things that you're also going to be expected to do. For that window of time, you might be expected to go fight as a soldier. There could be other capacities that you'd be expected to fulfill, but typically it was going to be as a soldier for the night or for the Lord. However, as time goes on, they're going to say, and understandably so, I don't want to go fight. This isn't something that I really have a desire to do. I don't want to put my life on the line. And so they began paying what was called shield money. Shield money. Instead of now fighting for the Lord, they could pay shield money, which would get them out of it. It was basically a payoff so that they wouldn't have to go fight. As a way of, or after they would pay that off, many times then the Lord would pay others to go fight for him. In essence, they became mercenaries. We've talked about mercenaries a few times this year. There would be opportunities for people to make money to go fight for the Lord. However, at the end of the day, if the vassal is not going to do what they have been asked to do by the Lord, or if they die without any male heirs, the Lord could then reclaim his land and take it back and add it back to his overall property. So vassals wanted to have sons. That was really important. And it was also really important that they did their job. Finally, as we think about this conflict that's going to start to branch out, it's going to be really important that there be soldiers within society. There's going to now be a night drought, and if you want to protect your honor, if you want to protect your name, it's going to be important that you have soldiers that are able to fight for you. Knights are going to be these people. We'll talk about them a little bit more and how the code of chivalry is going to play a role in that as we come back on Friday. However, as we think about this, we're going to see these knights now wearing protective armor. I'm sure many of you guys have seen suits or coats of armor, these guys that put on plate armor. It's incredible to think about these men wearing all of this gear to now go out and fight. However, on their shield, as you see on the right there, they're going to put a coat of arms. Some of you guys, as your family has gone on, perhaps know we have a coat of arms. There's something specific that's going to be connected with that. But really what makes up a coat of arms is what is called heraldry. And I didn't just make that up just because we are the heralds. That was going to be what those symbols were going to mean. As you think about each thing, there was going to be purpose, there was going to be meaning behind that that was going to now make up your image within your family crest or your coat of arms. I think that you guys perhaps could imagine what my family crest would have, and each one of yours might be a little bit different. But being that we were the wards or keepers of the hay, a very important position, I'm sure. But as you look at that, I'm sure a bale or a area of hay would be on my family crest or coat of arms. And again, it'd be interesting to think about what your family crest would look like. There's going to be an assignment that's going to be connected with heraldry. We will talk about that a little bit more on Friday as we come back together. I'll explain exactly what I'm looking for there. But you guys are going to get an opportunity to put together some images that are going to be representative and symbolic of you as individuals. If you want that to be your family crest, we can talk about that. But I am definitely interested in what makes you tick, what makes you unique. What are some of the things that are going to be distinct about you? We'll talk about that a little bit more on Friday. You guys have a great midweek point, and we will see one another on Friday. Take care.